So you got to keep those feelings inside of you, okay? Well, what I did to release those feelings was I wrote.
Get ready for an excruciating tale that will make you tap your feet and shake your head. Turn down the lights and have a whiskey cocktail. David Allan Coe. Just hearing the name makes me think of defiance.
Sometimes you're told to keep everything bottled up inside, to just live with it, but for David Allan Coe the only way out was through music, and what came pouring out would shake the foundations of country music itself. So turn the lights down low, pour yourself a strong drink, and settle in, because this story isn't polished or comfortable, it's raw, restless, and unforgettable. Just hearing the name David Allan Coe brings to mind defiance, rebellion, and a sound that hits harder than a barroom floor on a Saturday night. What you're about to hear goes beyond the legend, revealing a side of Coe few ever talk about, the unfiltered truth behind the rhinestones, the mask, and the myth. Was he a misunderstood prophet with a guitar or a lightning rod for controversy who refused to play by anyone else's rules? Either way, prepare yourself, because this is the story of one of country music's most untamed figures. David Allan Coe entered the world on September 6, 1939 in Akron, Ohio. From an early age his life was anything but stable. Music became his refuge, especially the sound of Johnny Ace, whose influence left a lasting mark. A childhood marked by institutionalization and long stretches away from normal family life pushed him toward the margins of society, but it was there that he found purpose. Behind walls and locked doors he discovered songwriting, inspired by artists like Screamin' Jay Hawkins, and realized that music could be his escape. When he finally set his sights on Nashville in the late 1960s, he arrived with nothing but determination, playing on the streets and sleeping wherever he could, even living out of a hearse parked near the Ryman Auditorium. It wasn't glamour, it was survival. His raw talent eventually caught the attention of Shelby Singleton, who signed him to Plantation Records, and suddenly the impossible seemed within reach. Around this time Coe also became associated with an outlaw motorcycle club based in Kentucky, a connection that would later become part of his larger-than-life image. Despite modest success, money problems followed him closely, and personal struggles never seemed far behind. Still, in 1970 his debut album Penitentiary Blues arrived, and with it a voice country music hadn't quite heard before. It was rough, honest, and unapologetic. Touring with rock bands like Grand Funk Railroad put him on the radar of musicians who recognized something dangerous and new in his sound. Songwriting soon became one of his greatest strengths. Even when his own records weren't climbing the charts, other artists found success recording his songs. Billy Joe Spears, Tanya Tucker, and many others brought his words to a wider audience, proving that his pen was just as powerful as his presence. By 1975, with the release of Once Upon a Rhyme on Columbia Records, Coe finally broke through to mainstream listeners. The album showed his versatility and humor, especially on You Never Even Called Me by My Name, a song that became his first major hit and a tongue-in-cheek tribute to everything a classic country song should be. That same year he appeared in the groundbreaking documentary Heartworn Highways alongside artists like Townes Van Zandt, Guy Clark, and Steve Earle. The film cemented his place in the outlaw movement and showed audiences a musician who refused to fit neatly into Nashville's expectations. Collaborations with legends like Johnny Cash expanded his reach even further, and his reputation as a songwriter continued to grow. His stage image evolved too, inspired by rhinestone suits and a Lone Ranger-style mask that symbolized both mystery and independence. It wasn't about hiding, it was about control, about deciding how much of himself the world got to see. As the outlaw country movement gained momentum, Coe stood shoulder to shoulder with names like Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings, even if commercial success didn't always come as easily for him. Albums like Long-Haired Redneck captured the frustration and pride of life on the fringes, speaking directly to working-class listeners who felt overlooked. Critics didn't always know what to make of him, sometimes dismissing him as a caricature, but fans heard honesty where others heard noise. Through it all he stayed true to his instincts, even as country music shifted toward a smoother, more polished sound in the early 1980s. Just when many thought his moment had passed, Coe surged back with Castles in the Sand. The album's standout track The Ride became one of his most powerful songs, weaving a haunting story about ambition, legacy, and the price of chasing a dream. The success continued with deeply emotional songs like Mona Lisa Lost Her Smile and Missing the Kid, where his storytelling reached new levels of vulnerability. These songs revealed a man capable of profound tenderness beneath the tough exterior. Throughout the rest of the decade, Coe continued pushing boundaries, collaborating with fellow outlaw icons and releasing concept albums that explored faith, mortality, and the human condition. Even as trends came and went, his commitment to artistic freedom never wavered. In the 90s and early 2000s he remained active through touring, reissues, and unexpected collaborations that introduced his music to entirely new audiences. One of the most surprising was his work with heavy metal musicians, proving once again that genre lines meant nothing to him. Controversy followed him as closely as praise, especially when critics questioned his intentions and misunderstood his work. Coe defended his right to creative expression, insisting that storytelling, even uncomfortable storytelling, had always been part of country music's soul. He acknowledged his flaws, challenged assumptions, and refused to retreat. His appearance in a tribute to Johnny Cash later in his career symbolized his lasting place in the lineage of American music rebels. David Allan Coe's legacy is not simple or clean, but that's exactly the point. He was never meant to be safe or predictable. He carved his own path through controversy, resilience, and relentless honesty, leaving behind a body of work that still sparks debate and devotion. Whether celebrated or criticized, he opened doors for future artists to speak freely and live loudly. And if you really want to understand the outlaw spirit, you don't just listen to the hits, you dig deeper, because that's where the real story lives. Picking up where the legend deepens, the story of David Allan Coe doesn't slow down, it sharpens. As the years rolled on, Coe leaned even harder into his independence, choosing freedom over approval every single time. While the industry chased trends, he chased truth as he saw it, recording music on his own terms and releasing material that major labels wouldn't touch. These underground projects weren't designed for radio play or chart positions, they were raw expressions meant for listeners willing to meet him where he stood. Word of mouth carried these recordings far beyond Nashville, turning them into cult favorites and reinforcing his image as an artist who answered to no one. Touring became his lifeline. Night after night, city after city, Coe took the stage with a presence that demanded attention. Fans didn't just come to hear songs, they came to witness a force of nature. His live performances blended storytelling, humor, defiance, and vulnerability, creating a connection that felt personal even in packed venues. Audiences across the United States and Europe responded to his honesty, finding pieces of their own lives in his music. He didn't sing at people, he sang with them. As country music continued to evolve, Coe remained both inside and outside the genre, influencing it without ever fully belonging to it. Younger artists began citing him as proof that there was another way to build a career, one rooted in authenticity rather than conformity. His collaborations during this period reflected that philosophy, especially his work bridging country with heavier sounds, showing that shared emotion mattered more than labels. When Rebel Meets Rebel finally emerged, it stood as a testament to Coe's willingness to experiment and his belief that music should never sit still. Even as his influence grew, controversy never truly left him. Articles and opinion pieces attempted to define him in narrow terms, often missing the complexity of his work. Coe responded not with silence, but with more music, insisting that songs were mirrors meant to reflect uncomfortable truths as much as comforting ones. He spoke openly about being misunderstood and about the cost of refusing to soften his edges. Yet through every wave of criticism, His fan base remained fiercely loyal, drawn to the consistency of his character, if not always the comfort of his message. In later years, Coe shifted naturally into the role of elder outlaw, a living symbol of a movement that had changed country music forever. Tributes, guest appearances, and collaborations highlighted the respect he commanded among peers, even those who didn't always agree with him. His participation in projects honoring legends like Johnny Cash wasn't just symbolic, it was a passing of the torch, a recognition that Coe himself had become part of the history he once challenged. Beyond the stage and studio, his impact continued through stories, interviews, and the musicians who carried his influence forward. Podcasts, documentaries, and retrospectives revisited his journey, separating myth from reality while acknowledging that the two were forever intertwined. Coe never claimed to be perfect, only honest, and that distinction mattered to those who followed his career closely. In the end, David Allan Coe stands as a reminder that art doesn't have to be comfortable to be meaningful. His career was built on risk, resilience, and an unshakable belief in personal freedom. He didn't just sing about outsiders. He lived as one, carving a space where rules bent and expectations shattered. Love him or challenge him, his voice left a mark that can still be felt in the heart of country music today, echoing wherever artists dare to step outside the lines and tell their stories without permission.